And I would also request Feroz Saab and Arsalan to please join Farooq on stage in the Q&A session. Over to you, Farooq.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum all. Thank you, Zulfikar. And thank you, Arsalan, for a very detailed presentation. And Feroz Saab, again, thank you for highlighting the various practical matters and some of the solutions. Just to give you a very brief background of this session, you see this change, because by now Arsalan has given you a complete detail of what's in this new requirement. We felt that the key audit matter, which is really relevant and impacting the companies, and I think this is one point probably that has not yet been specifically highlighted, that this key audit matter concept is only applicable for listed companies. So the objective and the reason for inviting people from listed companies is this, that the key audit matter, which is really giving insights into the company, is relevant for listed companies, and the listed company relevant people who are the chief executives, the CFOs, and audit committee chairmen. So this is an awareness session basically for them. Internationally, it took 3 years to develop this standard. This or international standards on auditing. In Pakistan, we have the auditing framework, which is international standards on auditing. So accordingly, any international standard revision that applies in the world, we in Pakistan adopts that. A typical feature for Pakistan is that the specific wording of the report is prescribed through the SSCP. So we at the institute, we adopt the accounting auditing standard, and that auditing standard then gets recommended specific wordings to SSCP, who then prescribes those wording. So for this very standard, we are in discussions with SSCP, and the effective date given in the standard is 31st December 2006 financial statements. All the financial statements around the world who follows the international standards in auditing, they have the year end of December 31, 2016. This is the audit report that has been prescribed by the standard. So with that, a few introductory words, I'm opening the floor, and if people have questions, so please give your name and company.
My name is Irfan, and I'm from President. I'd like to compliment Arsalan for a wonderful presentation. My question to the board is that within Pakistan, most of the companies are closely held companies. Controlling interest rests with the owners or the multinational parent company, and they generally nominate their own board of directors to the company. And most of the directors know about the day-to-day affairs of the company, and they are fully aware of the key audit matters and the key business challenges. Now, under such circumstances, do we need such an elaborate report for the public eye? Because the stakeholders of the auditor's report are no longer only the SSCP or the ICAP or the stock exchange or the limited shareholder. With the recent events which are occurring in Pakistan, even the NAC and FI are looking at these events. And they just fail to understand the reality. Nadeem rightly said, एंकर ने कहा कि देखिए एक जैसी रिपोर्ट है, उसने किसी एंकर ने एक लिस्टेड कंपनी को बात कहा कि ये टैक्स ही नहीं देती है, उसको पता ही नहीं था कि ये exempted है. So these kind of over-regulated things it's so small an economy that such an over-regulated things can destroy the ship before it starts sailing.
Okay, thank you, Irfan. It's very interesting, this development, this new standard requirements is essentially coming because of the demand of the, users, and the users include, the shareholders as well. So to say that, this is only for the consumption of, certain specified sectors, no, this is not the case. And internationally, all around the world, 3 years this discussion took place, a lot of deliberations happened. And really the idea has been that the report has to be insightful, it has to be transparent, and the readability has to improve. So if you look at from an insight standpoint, certainly from the eyes of the auditor, the work that the auditor has done and focused areas that the auditor has focused on the work, on the key audit matters. So if that is coming out through its report, certainly for the users, that is, an additional information. And also sometimes you can see that for a particular accounting treatment, you may have more than one permission method. And if this is coming out of the auditor, then of course he has analyzed, assessed, looked at in detail that what the requirements are, and if it is coming out. So for a person who already knows, who is in executive position, certainly he knows that. But for a company which has more stakeholders, and especially in case of listed companies, you have multiple stakeholders. So yes, this is going to give you insight, and this is the demand of the around the world. The second thing is the transparency part. If you can see, this is a very express statement now in the auditor's report that the auditor is independent and the requirements of the code of ethics have been followed. So the transparency part is coming out. One other matter which from this standard point is the requirement to give the name of the engagement partner in the report. But in Pakistan, since we already had adopted this and for certain years back, so Arslan has probably not highlighted specifically, but this is again a change for many in the world that the audit report now require name of the engagement partner. So in Pakistan, we already have. So transparency standpoint, these are the things. From readability standpoint, if you look at, the report, if you start reading the report now, you get to the, the real answer, the real thing that the auditor makes a statement that, it's true and fair, the accounts are okay, unqualified opinion. Then, if one has to read all through the report. But with this now change in the first paragraph, write the first sentence, you are making your opinion clear. So for any user, certainly this is going to be a very good understanding that, what the auditor has given opinion. So I think from a readability standpoint also, this is going to be a significant improvement. As far as the comments about, anchors and, that's the challenge, yes. How best we can word that in the report and remaining within the structure of that auditor is not going to give the original information. It should not be the source of original information, and maybe through, as Arslan has also recommended, through a report of the directors or audit committee, there are matters who are also highlighting, and an auditor can refer to those also in the auditor financial statement through a detailed note. You can link up so that the wordings, how best you handle those wordings, I think that is going to be a practical challenge for all of us, and we try and achieve, and probably that's the reason why we are trying to have these awareness sessions now, so that by the year end people are well aware, its interactions have taken place, and when then this gets implemented, we have lesser issues.
I just want to add a little thing on just. I think I agree with you, the dynamics of the economy in Pakistan and developing world is very different from the developed world. So the level of maturity that we have in the developing world cannot be compared with the maturity of the Western world. So the understanding of the audit work, yes, is a problem as far as our part of the world is concerned. And therefore, it is more bigger a challenge in Pakistan or any of the developing countries to implement this report as compared to the economies UK and US, where there are widespread of stakeholders and they expect much more transparency about a public company. So the circumstances are different, I agree with you, but at the same time, we cannot be isolated with the world. So if somebody looks at the reports, audit reports which are issued in Pakistan, and the reports which are issued internationally, they can't be different. They have to give the same level of transparency as expressed in the world. So therefore, yes, what will happen is, and what is required is, the implementation time should increase, and we should deal the implementation issue through more education to develop more maturity about the audit work from all stakeholders. I mean, everyone should better understand what the auditor's responsibilities are, what they're expected to do, and what you cannot expect from auditors, or what you should be expecting from the auditors. So actually, our implementation of this standard require much more effort than the implementation in anywhere else in the world.
Just one point I wanted to mention, because you gave example of multinational. I've been associated with multinational. Now, of course, you are absolutely right. The amount of information that is given to them and the amount of information that they are aware of, they don't have to necessarily read key audit matters because they're fully aware of those things. However, we must understand that stakeholders are not necessarily only the shareholders or the majority shareholders. And as Farooq said, that it is applicable to listed companies. So whether they own majority share to whatever extent they do, there is always the element of minority shareholders who would be interested in actually determining where the company is going, what is happening, what are the key points that have been raised by the auditors. It's not only the minority shareholders, there are other stakeholders as well. There are the analysts who would advise people who intend to invest. With this new introduction of the audit report, the audit transparency, the confidence in terms of the audit work that has gone out would significantly increase. And for an ordinary shareholder to be able to understand the kind of disclosure that is now made and required, it would be very difficult for him to go through the entire report to be able to determine that. It would be far simpler for him to just read the audit report and to a very large extent become aware of what is happening about that particular company. I mean, normally if one were to ask how many people would have read an audit report, I don't think anyone would have. So I think it's a challenge, of course. It will take time, but it is the step in the right direction.
Ji, Ali, you wanted to ask? Sorry. You go ahead, Raymond.
Just one question. I get the sense that we haven't necessarily finalized whether we are adopting this financial statements in the year ending 31st December. Is that correct? And when will this decision take place?
Okay. You see, as I have explained, that the framework for auditing in Pakistan is international standards in auditing. So this standard is going to be adopted. So that is kind of a given. Now, the date given in the standard itself is 15th. Any report issued after 15 December 2016, that is something the standard has required. In Pakistan, what happens is that, now I'm a little getting technical, there is a standard ISA 700 which talks about the audit report. In Pakistan, ISA 700 is already adopted, right? Whenever there is any revision that comes in that standard, then automatically that you don't need to give us a new date for that. However, in this particular case now, there is a new standard which is called ISA 701, which is the key audit matter. There are 5 other standards as well, but again, the dates are the same, so I'm not referring to that. So this very new standard, ISA 701, this is now we have to specifically adopt, and this is on the agenda of the council, and that is going to be specifically adopted. So as far as the date for the key audit matter standard is concerned, as we speak, this is not yet adopted.
Hopefully this will be resolved sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because over the last 3 years, we get these life-changing circulars 2 days before the audit committee. So hopefully we'll get it, given her